Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where we talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Walker. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Another one of those episodes of Walker that has a little bit of crime drama elements to it, not too much investigation stuff. I thought that case was going to be like something that might take up the entire episode. It's like, no, it takes up maybe like 10 minutes of the episode, maybe. So I was actually kind of surprised about it. The rest of the episode is just purely about the relationships. Obviously, Walker and him and Twyla are spending more time together, which, Liam is warning him about. That's like, right, you are a serial monogamous. And it's like, right, is this just a rebound from the Jerry thing? And it kind of is. He doesn't want to label it that, but it is a situation where not being like with Twyla, he's able to kind of forget everything that's going on. The Walkers versus the Davidsons, losing the ranch, everything between him and Jerry. It's just things with Twyla are nice and kind of simple, and he kind of enjoys that, and they enjoy each other's company, and especially obviously they have been spending more time together. They obviously do care about each other because of their history and stuff like that. But even now they're trying to have a fresh start, and obviously Walker got a little defensive the moment Denise was kind of like, oh, like you do what we say you do. Like, you kind of, anytime the DA's office or whatever needs you to like work on something, then that's kind of part of her like parole, that you kind of, when we say jump, you say ha ha almost. And like, obviously not to such an extreme, but it's kind of the equivalency there. And so Walker was kind of getting very defensive about it, because now he's thinking like, oh, Denise, you're only doing this because first you came after my dad and you were wrong. Now you're doing this again. Like, everything you're doing is a little bit of personal attack. The fact is he's kind of taking that way. It's because he's getting super, defensive when it comes to Twyla. But also I think there is a little bit of that rub where it's just like, I don't know, the way Denise acts around Cordell isn't the same way she did earlier on in the season, so it definitely feels like she's got extra venom towards him to some extent, but he's also kind of got it towards her as well, because it's like, yeah, after everything went down with the farm, I don't think they've been around each other since then. Well, since like the previous Twyla thing, right? Yeah, because that was, yeah, because they were around each other in the Twyla thing, so it's just like, that was already kind of an issue, and now this Twyla thing ended up, I think, complicating it. Now I'm thinking about it, it's like, right, they did meet up again when the whole Twyla, Cordell and Denise were in the same scenes and like stuff, same rooms and such, when Twyla was kind of first brought back and stuff. So I was like, okay, so never mind. But it's just like, I think once again, there's a lot of animosity, there's issues, there's stuff there. They've got their complicated history as well, so add in Twyla to that mix, it complicates things even more. But despite everything, Walker and Twyla are actually a pretty good team, the way they operate and work together. And the way they end up, the way he ends up, well, they end up taking down that bad guy. It was like a two-team combo. But afterwards, because Walker's helping her find a new place, they kind of hook up. It's kind of like, ooh, a little bit of a, she's like, right, if like, back then, would you have, taken me? Would we have just go. It's like, well, yeah, but there was like, now we're in that situation again, but we don't have that money that we were robbing together with the Rodeo King. She's like, yeah, but there's still the fantasy aspect of like them together, and they do their thing, which I'm like, oh, that's going to complicate things. And Jerry ultimately tells Walker, like, right, I saw you the other day with Twyla. It's like, I'm not jealous or anything, but you really have to think about it. Like, have you told your family about being with her? There's a lot of history there, so you have to tell them sooner or later, because Walker ends up, kind of telling, like, giving Twyla roses and, like, flowers, and I was like, oh, she's not going to respond to this well, is she? Because she's like, right, the here and now is what matters the most, and he kind of jumps immediately to, like, hey, this is day 0. She's like, what? He's like, yeah, and I hope tomorrow could be day 1 of us figuring out whatever this is. It's like, right. I mean, it's a quick rebound between Jerry, and I've been in that rebound situation, and the sad thing is, it's not really fair to the person you were with. I mean, what is the time frame for a rebound? I've been in a situation where I rebound between one girlfriend into another relationship pretty quickly. Actually, truth be told, is I rebounded into like multiple relationships. One relationship into the next over the span of like 3 months. Once again, this was me as a teenager, so I think the rules kind of like are a little more loosey-goosey, and it was just like, but still, it's kind of, I feel that same energy in this regard, and I kind of feel bad, because I'm like, yeah, like, you should have more space in between the whole you and Jerry thing and, you know, the you and Twyla thing. I mean, to be fair, there's still not a whole bunch of space in between. There's still some, but the last you run in before she got locked up and such, obviously the Rodeo Kings wasn't like that long ago either, so. But, you know, she was kind of more like, oh, let's focus on the now and be present, kind of just having fun. But he wanted kind of more, just like Liam said he would. And they sit down to try and have the conversation with August. And he's like, hey, you know, me and Twyla have been working together. He's like, oh, God, I thought you guys were going to bring up the fact is that you were dating. And he's like, oh, that's a big no. Because he's like, yeah, Twyla's fine and everything, but there's just too much history here. And Twyla says, like, no, you mean your dad talked about it and dating isn't a good idea. And he's like, no, Twyla, what do you, and she's just like, right, I just don't think it was in the cards. And even to the point she ends up asking for a transfer later to a different county, just because I think being around here is just like, right, I think the sad thing is I don't think they were ever going to be able to have a full fresh start, because no matter how much they want to try, there is too much history there. There's too many complications. It probably wouldn't have worked out, because also Walker realizes, like, right, at the end of the day, the perfect person for Twyla was Duke. But Duke isn't who he is anymore, because he even talks about it a little bit later on with Liam, how Duke isn't who he is at his core, because Duke is someone who didn't have any connections or didn't have any responsibility. So that's what made it fun. But at the same time, he's like, right, I have too much here, you know, and someone's going to have to pry you guys, his family, away from him before he ever leaves them again, because he made that mistake before, and it's like he loves what he has too much to ever just kind of throw it away. It's too important to him. So that's why him and Twyla can't be, because he isn't Duke. He is Cordell. And who he was back then would have been a perfect fit for Twyla, but he has too much here as Cordell to just throw it away. Which I love that Liam joked with him, like, oh, whenever you need to put like that love first and you find that special someone, I will drive you to the airport. I will even pay for the ticket myself. I thought that was beautiful. I'm sure that's specifically referencing a movie. I was about to say Casablanca, but I'm like, I don't think that's what that is. But there's a very specific movie. I'm like, I think I know what movie that's kind of a reference to. Might just be your general story, but I feel like it's specifically referencing a movie. But yeah, I was kind of bummed by that. I was like, oh, I mean, that's the thing. I was hoping we were going to get more Twyla around. I'm actually kind of shocked things kind of played out this way. But also at the same time, I'm also like, I think it just would have been an uphill thing. And if it didn't end now, it probably would have ended sooner rather than later. So, because, I mean, who knows whether there's ever going to... I hope that Cordell and Jerry could work it out, but maybe not. Maybe there is someone else around the corner that isn't... I don't know. It's just... I just kind of feel bad for Cordell, because it's just like, yeah, ever since Emily, like, it's been one thing after another, like, relationship-wise. There's always going to be, like, some complications with these relationships. He'd probably have to start fresh with someone for it to not be, like, you know, everything between him and Jerry. There's a lot of history there. Same thing between him and Twyla, so it's kind of sad. And, like I said, I thought we'd get more Twyla around, but no. I mean, I guess there's always a possibility of her popping up maybe like after her parole's done or something like that, but them kind of having to say goodbye. It also kind of sucks because, like, you know, her and Cassie were becoming friends, so I was like, oh, it'd be kind of neat if they were able to kind of stay in touch. I wonder, could, like, Cassie, like, go to the next county and, like, could they hang out or something like that? I think that'd be interesting, but... So, we got things on that front. Then we had the whole Stella, Colton, and Todd situation, that love triangle, which obviously that gets even more complicated when you stack like them being teenagers on top of it, and, you know, August telling Stella it's kind of not fair to Todd nor herself or fair to anyone in that situation if she feels the way she does about Colton, that she smiles and lights up the way she does when they talk about Colton. It's not fair to anyone else. And obviously, like, they're getting, like, her and Todd are going to the same college, and he's so happy, and she doesn't want to hurt him. Like, that's a sad thing with these things. Like, someone's always going to get a little hurt, and it's sad. It's just kind of the way of life, and it's just the longer she kind of waited, the more of an issue it caused, because Todd could tell the way she was hanging around Colton, because she eventually told Colton, like, right, the way you feel about me is real, right? Like, you were serious about it. He's like, yeah, since day one. You know, I picked a fight with a girl that I immediately was like, whoa, towards, but at the end of the day, like, we need to be honest with everyone around us. Todd, obviously, rightfully upset, kind of started stuff with Colton. That ends up with them fighting, and luckily Trey was able to kind of squash that. So he ends up having a one-on-one talk with Todd, which he's like, yeah, I get it. You know, he's like, don't worry, like things get easier after high school. And Todd's like, really? He's like, nah, man, I'm just messing with you. It doesn't. You know, because he's figuring things out. He's like, I got blindsided by a breakup. But when he talks to him about, right, at the end of the day, Stella, it's her decision who she ends up choosing. And whoever whoever is less wanting to be in a relationship, they have the power in that relationship to decide, like, whether they want to continue or bow out when it comes to it. So Todd's like, shouldn't I at least try and like fight for her or something? But because at the end of the day, it is Stella's choice. And obviously seeing them labeled as like the cutest couple in the yearbook thing, it complicated things. And Todd recognizes it. He's like, yeah, I get it. Colton, you like Colton. And it's just, because you could already tell like things between her and Colton are a little more deeper, because sadly things between her and Todd, like she likes Todd, but they've already kind of showcased like things between her and him are very like shallow. Like things can be serious, but he's like, they don't have to be serious all the time. So it is kind of sad, but I think once again handled it very responsibly. I don't know if at my age I would have handled that responsibly. I don't know. I mean, I guess my breakups I handled somewhat amicably when the person suggested the breakups. I've only ever been on the the breakup burr. I've always once. I think more often than not I've been the breakup to some extent, but the mutual split like that. It's like, right, I know it's probably going to be hard to be like friends now, but like, you know, maybe when it's time to like go to campus and stuff like that, like hopefully they could go back to being friends and stuff. So once again, I'm like, oh man, that's a very mature way to handle that. I'm sure it still would come with its complications. But I mean, hell, even her and Colton is going to be complicated because of their family histories. And it's like, right, how long is this peace going to last? And it's like, probably not forever, but that has nothing to do with us right here, right now, you know, and that's what matters, you know? So beyond that, where our families currently are, cause I love the whole thing of like, right, my grandpa and your dad are working together. Our grandmothers are like at each other's throats. Even both of us having Jerry as an aunt, it's like, yeah, that is kind of weird, but yeah, you know, so it is kind of sweet. And I've always kind of figured it was going to be a Colton and her thing for a while, and then you kind of threw the Todd thing in as a wrench. But you know, maybe things that are meant to be, you know, find a way of happening, I think. So once again, whether that's a Jerry and Walker thing or just someone else, we'll see. I'm also wondering too, are we going to set up a Cassie and Trey thing? That's what I've been thinking for a while, but we'll see. But speaking of Trey, he's talking to James about the therapist position, but the people who are setting everything up are like, yeah, but if he does this, it needs to be a permanent situation. It has to be a full-time job, but he wants to balance that and working at the school because working with the kids is very important to him. He decided that a job route and is very important to him because these kids are pretty much his kids that he wants to take care of. So, but ultimately he decides that, right, he just wants to see these kids, like he's been on this journey with the kids that are graduating now. So it's like, right, I just want to see them through this year, and then I'm going to take on this therapist position full time. But it seems like James has another idea for it. Seems like he's like, right, you know, it might take some strings pulled, because I was like, I'm sure like he'll probably have to go through some official stuff, and he's like probably like had set up some training and stuff for him to go through everything. But it's like, right, he's found someone to take that fill that void. I guess, well, because I don't think Cassie's there to like fill the void of Mickey. I think it's more. I think she just meant to feel like, you know, it's like, right, they have a Ranger opening, but I think he's putting Trey in position to be like, I think Trey's going to be what I wanted Mickey to be, like, because he was setting Mickey up to not kind of be like his protege, but like his replacement, the one that can lead them in the right direction. And I think he sees that in Trey, and understandable, like Trey has the leadership skills, he just the people person that he has all the right qualities, he's the caring person he is. So it's like, right, I think all the same qualities that James saw in Mickey exist in Trey, and he's like, right, I think I found the person right for that job. So we'll see how that all kind of connects and stuff like that. And that's probably going to be something a little more later down the path, like, you know, probably start the therapist stuff first, or maybe he will kind of get the badge and balance like that with like a therapist. Like I said, it's not just gonna be like, oh, you get the badge, everything's good. It's like, no, he has to go through the training and stuff like that. So I'm assuming at some point James is going to approach him about like, hey, maybe you should try to take like, you know, the tests and stuff like that to become a ranger. So we'll see how that ultimately ends up playing out. But another angle to this episode is the whole situation with Jerry and Denise. Their complicated relationship, you know, it's like, right, because Denise had talked about it, no, Jerry had talked about it with Gail, that her and Denise hadn't quite hit it off even with the road trip, because it's like, right, we kind of jumped in head first into all this, and it seemed like, you know, I think Denise was trying at the beginning to make everything was copacetic, but it still like kind of got thrown into the deep end. And so, you know, it's the thing of like, right, for Denise, it's like, all I can see when I see you is the person who, the daughter of the man who was responsible for my father's death. But then for Jerry, it's like, yeah, but Marvin's the one who abandoned me for you. So it's like, we were both hurt by these men we call our fathers. But shouldn't we use that as even more motivation for us to fix things between us, for us to be sisters for each other? And, you know, Denise is willing to kind of take that shot, take that chance, and them drinking together and having fun. I thought it was kind of beautiful. It's like, right, this is still part of the family she hasn't quite, you know, won over yet. But in the end, though, she ends up taking down the niece from the bar, and it's like, wait, wasn't that a gift from Emily? It's like, yes, but Emily would want you to feel welcomed here, so I don't want this to be seen it, because that was back when she saw Denise as kind of like, oh, the enemy and an adversary, but now it's like, no, I see you for who you are. Like, she had a lot of Walker bias when it came to Denise, when it came to the Davidsons, as the Walkers tend to do, but she sees her now for like, right, you're my sister, just, you know, family, blood and non-blood, but obviously in their case, blood related, but obviously, and, you know, kind of picking up off the Colton and Stella thing, is a whole conversation of, right, the coming storm of issues between the Walkers and the Davidsons, because Twyla and Walker had talked about the race that decided the future of the ranch, but Walker hadn't really given it too much thought. I think it wasn't until he was working this particular case where a rider fell off the horse, and it's what Twyla said. It all kind of made him go like, yeah, the fact is that snapped. Their Bond's been working on these saddles like for ages. Like, how many of his have ever snapped over the years? None. So it's like, right, now Cordell's starting to think maybe they cheated. The question is who? I don't think it was Colton. It could be, but I don't think it was necessarily Dan, but I could definitely see it being Gail doing it, and that could, but opening this can of worms where everything's good now, like they're finding some middle ground. Cordell opening this can of worms is going to lead to a whole thing, so that's going to be a major problem. So it's definitely going to be interesting, because the only person he's talked to about this currently is Liam. Now, whether he's going to bring this up to his mom and dad, because he is the person that's like, right, I need proof. So I think he's going to be trying to find that proof next episode to figure out. Catching some glimpses of what I saw in the promo. I typically try not to watch it, but I just wanted to find out how many episodes are left in this season. It seems like this is going to be a 20 episode season. Because it said 3 episodes left, but I'm assuming based on where we saw James at, I'm assuming this has some correlation or connection to the whole Miles thing. But there was also something going on with Colton too. Obviously, I was fast forwarding to stuff because I wasn't trying to watch it, but it seems like him and Stella find themselves in the situation next episode too. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Till next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.